Hola Ufelas, aquí les traigo un video completamente subtitulado al español de Omni Vegito. Podrás encontrar todos los links del creador de este contenido en la descripción del video. Y ahora, disfruta.
A completely pitch black ice, as Shiva's body would continue to deform, his skull growing longer and longer, his shoulders becoming pure blades, as his torso would snatch inwards. And on top of his skull, to finish things off, just like Omni Vegito, a horn would grow out, just this time made of that deathly dark ice. Lord Akubel, I will win this for you! And the whole way through, like a bat out of hell, all this monstrosity would be doing is screaming as he would do so. Right, he's not cowardly like Frieza at least. Fine, bring it on. You forget I have 2 arms to use this time. This won't go as differently as you think, freak. But in response, the Divine Saiyan would hardly look like he was in fear, his dukes up already to brawl. And as this one-on-one battle would go on, just why Vegito was so confident may be showing itself, as the all-healing Dragon God Piccolo, now finished with Coral, will be standing, watching as backup. Well, I may have finished first in the end, Vegito, but I at least get a show. As seemingly knowing all too well himself, with a smile, the Dragon God would continue. No pressure now, Omni King. Whatever happens, you know I'll be here to fix things. But as Shiva would get close, immediately, he would vanish before even touching Vegito. What now? Perplexing the Omni Devil, who was preparing himself for battle. What? Wait! As unbelievably, when we would see where Shiva had actually gone, it would be none other than right in front of Piccolo. And not just that, but in front of a completely stunned deer-in-the-headlights Piccolo, Shiva would have his palm facing directly at the Namekian's face. You're the big problem here. I'll save everyone the trouble. Freeze, Bugman! As instantly, just like that, the second Shiva would say this, Piccolo would be frozen literally, encased in a literal solid ice block. That same stunned deer-in-the-headlights look would be kept in perfect position now, potentially for eternity. This ice was no ordinary material when made from the black ice of Shiva. Now, be gone with your cowardly magic! As immediately not taking any chances, Shiva would then lift his arm straight up, ready to hammer down, as if one strike on this ice sculpture would not free Piccolo, but in fact, shatter him like a statue into a million pieces. No, you don't! As when Vegito would notice, horn pointed forward, the Omni Devil would race instantly with haste straight towards Shiva, trying desperately to catch him right before it was ultimately too late. Die! But judging by the distance now between Shiva's blurred hand from how fast it was moving and the ice that held Piccolo, it would take something particularly special to catch up now. And with this almost blade-like attack now inches from Piccolo's face, there would not, of course, be any change of expression from the frozen Namekian, but that initial look of shock being apt even in his last moments, just before impact. Just in the nick of time, that something particularly special would indeed arrive, in the form of the most special Vegito possible, as the prodigious Saiyan fusion would then come speeding in, landing a sidekick right onto the side of Shiva, his hand forced to slip and entirely leave Piccolo's ice block untouched and alone. And the second this impact would take effect, Shiva would then ultimately be sent soaring back where he came from initially. You're too late anyway. He won't thaw out until I die. But looking down, almost grinning, even in his movement backwards, with his tongue wagging, Shiva would be safe in thought that the immortal healing Piccolo was put away. As soon enough, right behind him, out of nowhere, from the stage itself, a giant mountain of pure ice would emerge, but not for zero purpose. As clamping his hands and feet directly onto it, Shiva would use the ice surface as a makeshift platform to stop himself from moving any further. But the second he would look up, unfortunately this platform would just leave him as easy pickings for Omni Vegito, as right ahead of him now would be a giant beam of very recognizable blue energy. What is... And just like that, with his face lit up and no chance of dodging, Shiva would then be squished and smashed straight through his own ice wall as the beam would strike him and take him along with it. Enjoy! As back with Vegito, with his hands in the position of a Kamehameha, he would know now exactly what that blue beam was, if there was any doubt before. But with Shiva being in an all-new endgame form, almost the instant Vegito would be satisfied with Shiva being blasted off before it could even explode. From the smoke behind Vegito, a beastly caricature would swarm out, striking the Omni Devil straight from behind, slamming his head straight onto the ground for violent impact. But in this high-paced battle, it would only be followed by Vegito's eye noticing a sharp, pointed object now spearheading for him, and unfortunately, at his most vulnerable point. And it would in fact strike, stabbing straight through the Omni Devil's eye, permanently destroying it. After all, Omni Vegito had no regeneration abilities of his own. But he wouldn't just stay on the ground as quickly. In retaliation, the Divine Saiyan would jump away. What have you done? How dare you do this to me? As all Vegito could do at this point now would be grab onto his now pouring with blood eye. But Shiva would not care for Vegito's angry words at all, as screaming himself, he would be creating at that very moment a powerful ball of energy that was looking like he would be swirling and generating from his voice alone. You just don't stop, do you? You damn frick! Before the still disorientated Vegito could even finish his sentence, Shiva indiscriminately would just fire point blank again in the Omni King's face, the Saiyan's entire existence looking to be lost in the bright purple beam's fire. And what a beam it would be, as we would soon see it firing high and away off into the depths of space above the tournament grounds. And when we'd be left with the exhausted breaths of Shiva, we'd also notice that suddenly there was thunder and lightning in the sky. Did my beam do that? With at first Shiva naively thinking was due to his own attack. But unfortunately, when the smoke would begin to dissipate, suddenly in the distance, a very familiar sight would be seen. Familiar, at least to Shiva. As Omni Vegito's great demon wall would already be summoned, and the monster on top would already be powering up the same dark arts energy ball that near annihilated Shiva before. And of course, just like before, it would fire off, its beam seeming even larger and more powerful than before. Predictable! But from judging from Shiva's expression, the Frost Devil would not be worried at all. Arise! As quickly raising both arms into the air, just before impact, another giant ice wall of his own would be generated from thin air, one thicker and even darker than before. And from the way Vegito's beam would strike, it would actually be far stronger than before also. A huge explosion eventually erupted, but right against the ice wall, which would surprisingly hold its own. At least until the aftermath, where though Shiva would still be protected and standing, the mountain would now be broken up into smaller chunks, not too dissimilar in size to the one that housed Piccolo. Is Akubel's fighter truly turning this around? His power is certainly formidable. To defend against that, of course it would be. Perhaps he can beat Vegito. And with optimistic eyes, Castiel would be drawn into the battle even more than us. But soon the battle would return to the ground, as pairs of feet and hands would then be seen landing, but not on the tiled stage of the tournament we recognized. As when the two would be seen standing across from each other, the battlefield would now be entirely snow and ice, a consequence of the earlier energy trade and explosion. Now, you in my domain! That attack of yours only allowed me to create it faster. These ice summonings of mine served more than one purpose. Now, I will end this! As unbelievably, now Shiva would be getting even stronger, his body now shooting out even more aura as his power level would rise again. And at this moment, Vegito would begin weighing up his options thinking, this isn't good. Who knows how much crazier this fight gets? I'm lucky that explosion didn't take out Piccolo. He's still frozen. And so a quick look back at Piccolo would show indeed he was still there, but with cracks starting to form in the ice he was encased in. You've ruined a big surprise I wanted to save for the God Killer. Annoying, but what can I do? Wasting any more time here could mean losing Piccolo. And I'm not losing my one way to win this tournament. That's for damn sure. Let's just hope Vegito is looking away right now. As once finished having said this in a huff, Omni Vegito would then slam both his legs into the ground before... with a devilish roar of his own now, competing with Shiva, Vegito now would begin powering up himself. The power increasing in size over and over, until eventually the entire snow stage that Shiva had built begin melting and evaporating away in an instant from just the heat he would be creating. The power-up now beginning to take up most of what was left of the stage. VEGITO.El, watching, would mutter at first, "No, not again! This Saiyan of Castiels is trying to defy me! Shiva! Don't just stand there! Kill him now while he stood still! Do not let him transform!" And after hearing this loud and clear command from his elder god, in a panicked state, Shiva would turn around before... "Yes, Lord VEGITO.El!" In complete compliance, Shiva would then slam both of his hands right onto the ground, and immediately several ice mountains would arise now, just as big as the one before, and they would all be surrounding Vegito's power-up and closing in tighter. With even the mid-power-up Omni King realizing that he was now being shadowed and trapped just like Piccolo. And so with a thud, Omni Vegito would then be enclosed. And with one more exhaustion, Shiva would now finally stand alone on the battlefield. I only have a few seconds left before this form kills me, but I've done what you asked, Lord VEGITO.El. Zeus, this battle is over. And even in certain death, it would seem Shiva would extract joy over at least completing his mission. Or at least, thinking he did. As not even a moment later, a flash of white lightning would burst out of the ice and into the sky, but without damaging anything. What? And watching as this bright light would illuminate everything, Shiva would just watch as it reached the clouds and disperse almost immediately, without much cause for concern. Not much cause for concern until Shiva would get punched straight in the face out of nowhere, and by a completely white hand that seemed unlike any of the fighters that had appeared so far. Just what the hell happened? Good work spoiling this. I'd like to reveal to you all the first Omni Devil Gene, as reappearing with a completely paper white skin with 3 horns now, 2 wings, and a load of other monstrous features. The Devil Gene would be fully activated on Omni Vegito, the first Saiyan in the series to do so, and the second only to have shown full mastery after Kazuya. Standing with a smirk, slamming his fist directly onto a delirious Shiva. Which of you thinks you can stand up to me now? Are you there, God Killer? This is what you wish you were, you talentless clown. He did it before me! As in a stunning split-way panel, Omni Devil Gene VEGITO would grin and laugh in contrast to the absolute fury-infested grimace of Ultra Vegito. The question being whether the God Killer himself could do this too, or was the supreme talent of the Omni King just too much for Vegito to ever rise to? Thanks for ruining the surprise. You can go now. So our story continues with the incredible first reveal of Omni Vegito in his completed Devil Gene transformed state. The first Saiyan ever to have achieved this, showcasing his insane natural talent and prodigy level skill before all. As in a unique form with 3 horns and all white skin, Omni Devil Gene Vegito would be in a class of his own. Fast like a plane, he'd even pick up altitude as he would continue to rise, becoming just a star in the distance. And through the far reaches of this black space, it would actually start looking like outer space itself, with how far he would travel. Eventually, however, he would slow down, as we'd have a look at his severely broken face soon, with one eye completely now caved in, with the last of his eyes barely opening. Shiva would then mutter, "Just what was he? That Saiyan monkey? That was a true devil. He's a monster. And I failed my elder god. Time has run out for me in this form anyway. The trade-off was death, and at least I can die outside of Lord Akobel's sights." And so, as his eye would close completely now, the final whisper would be,